And now, is it time to recognize North Korea as a nuclear power? Is denuclearizing North Korea beyond any aspiration at this stage, especially because they have made so many advances in the last 4 years? They now have what they're showing off to be, a submarine-launched missile.
Andrew, this is a problem, a bad problem that has gotten worse over time. And I would be the first to acknowledge that it's a problem that's gotten worse across administrations. So the first thing the President has asked us to do is to review the policy, to make sure that we're using the most effective tools to advance the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula and to deal with the growing problem posed by North Korea's arsenal.
What does Kim Jong-un have to do to get a meeting with President Biden?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is to review the policy across the board, to look at what tools we have, including additional sanctions, including especially additional coordination and cooperation with allies and partners, but also to look at diplomatic incentives. So once we do that, we'll be able to tell you how we plan to move forward.
If you had to guess, would you be landing in a plane in Iran or North Korea in the next 4 years?
I think I'd first be landing in a plane probably in Europe and in Asia with our closest allies and partners, and I hope that day comes soon.
Let me do a lightning round. Mohammed bin Salman has been judged by our intelligence agencies as having ordered the brutal murder of Khashoggi. Can relations with Saudi Arabia be predicated on some responsibility? How important is Khashoggi's death to be part of that?
The murder of Mr. Khashoggi was an outrageous act against a journalist, against someone resident in the United States. It was abhorrent, and I think it shocked the conscience of the world. When it comes to Saudi Arabia has been an important partner for us in counterterrorism, in trying to advance regional stability and deal with regional aggression. But we also have to make sure that that partnership is being conducted in a way that's consistent with our interests and also with our values. And so the President has asked that we review the relationship to make sure it is doing just that. And that's exactly what's happening now.
Will you revoke the terror designation on Cuba?
So there were a series of actions that the outgoing administration took, including that one, that it took in the very last days of the administration, steps it could have taken presumably over 4 years that it took in the last basically 4 weeks. We're looking at all of them. One of the ones we're looking at that's related to Saudi Arabia is the designation of the Houthis in Yemen as a foreign terrorist organization. I have deep concerns about that because one of the things we have to focus on in this terrible war is the President's has said that we will stop our support for the Saudi-led military campaign in Yemen. But we also have to step up our ability to get humanitarian assistance to people in Yemen who are suffering terribly. 80% of them live under Houthi control. We want to make sure that anything we do does not make it more difficult to get humanitarian assistance to the people of Yemen.
Well, I know we're running out of time, but finally, you are the first Secretary of State in decades, if not ever, to have young children. You have a family that's rooted in this department. Your wife worked here. What is your vision for what you are hoping to accomplish, and how do you do that and be a father,
well,
a family man?
Having 2 very young children is actually an incredible source of inspiration because it really grounds what I'm trying to do and especially what I'm trying to help the President do in the reality that we are all here to try to make sure that life is better every single day for our fellow citizens, and especially that what we're doing is trying to leave a world that's just a little bit safer, a little bit more prosperous, a little healthier to our kids and grandkids. So seeing that every day and also having in-laws at home to help with them makes a big difference. But look, we have a couple of things that we have to do here. The President has said that we are going to lead our foreign policy with diplomacy. And that means we really have to invest in this institution, in the State Department, in its men and women, with the tools, with the training, with the support, to put them first. They are an extraordinary group. I've had the privilege of working with them in one way or another for the better part of almost 30 years now, since I've been in Washington. But we have to do right by them. So we're going to make sure that we're investing in them. We're also going to make sure that we have a department that actually looks like the country it represents. Our greatest strength at home, but also abroad, is our diversity. We're dealing, Andrew, with an incredibly diverse world. We would be doing that with 2 hands tied behind our back if our diplomats didn't actually look like the country they represent. And so I think you're going to see over the next few years as well a real focus on making sure that we have a diverse workforce. We're going to recruit, we're going to retain, and we're going to be held accountable for that.
Without political interference from the White House and with more career Foreign Service diplomats than political appointees?
Absolutely. I'm determined to put our career folks in positions of responsibility and leadership, and I am absolutely determined that politics are not going to come into this building. I've worked with, as I said, the men and women of the Foreign Service, the Civil Service, for more than a couple of decades. I couldn't begin to tell you who's a Republican, who's a Democrat, who's an independent. They're here every single day working for the American people, pursuant to the Constitution, to advance our interests. That's the kind of department we want.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.